Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, 159 years ago to the day, we had the debate in the United States Congress around the issue of slavery. 159 years ago to the day, January 31st, 1965. And I think it is prescient that we are here today discussing this same debate, having the same debate that they had in 1865. The debate before us is whether or not to approve this amendment, and I'd just like to speak for a second about that. The State and Federal Relations Committee approved the language of the original bill 20-0, and there were some concerns brought up by the chairman around prisons and what the position of the commissioner of our prisons and what their position would be about this legislation. They came and offered a letter in support of the bill as it stood originally. And that was because Commissioner Hanks, the commissioner of our prisons, and ourselves understand that slavery is a moral wrong. It's an excuse for something that doesn't exist anymore. And folks, this is a tough issue, and all of us here, I think some of us might think that this issue has already been solved. But I would like to posit that, and the hearing for this bill happened on National Human Trafficking Awareness Day, and I think that was another one of the coincidences in this bill which point to support. There are 1.1 million people in the United States right now who are classified as being enslaved in either sexual servitude, enforced labor, human trafficked. 1.1 million people is the estimate of how many people right now in the United States are enslaved. And that's why there are days like Human Trafficking Awareness Day. That's why we care so much about human trafficking, because this has been recognized as an issue that is a moral wrong. So the amendment here before us today would reauthorize the same language that's currently in the United States Constitution's 13th Amendment. The problem with that language is it leaves there an excuse for slavery. And in my opinion, as someone, a student of history, there should not be any exemption for slavery. Slavery in any form is wrong. And Commissioner Hanks agrees with that. The 20 members of the committee agreed with that. When you have an issue where the Liberty Alliance and left-wing activists are together on the same issue, and then you have some centralists in the same who are on the same issue, I think that's an issue that's worth supporting, because people on all sides on the aisle, wherever you fall on the economic spectrum or the social spectrum, agree that servitude, involuntary servitude for another, is a moral wrong. And as we stand here 159 years ago to the day of when the Congress of the United States debated this amendment, as I stand under Abraham Lincoln, who helped pass this amendment and saved our union in that moment, and as I sit in my seat as someone who would not have been allowed in this building not that long ago, within some of our lifetimes here, I think for me, this is one of those this is a legislation that's clear to support. And I understand the concerns that were brought forward, but I have to say that legislative intent is an important thing. And the legislative intent of the committee had nothing to do with the other things that were brought up by my friend at the other dais. The legislative intent of the committee had to do with abolishing slavery once and for all. So this didn't have to do with abortion. This didn't have to do with any other issue other than slavery. And I think trying to dilute it by bringing up those other issues does this legislation a disservice. So, my friends, colleagues, I would ask you again, just as the United States Congress did 159 years ago, to vote against this amendment and vote for the bill as ought to pass, because slavery is a moral wrong. All of us in this building understand that, and there is no exception to that. So thank you very much so, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the time you've lent me today, colleagues.